Okay, so I'm going to be doing a reaction to Austin Holloman's latest video that he dropped. At the time I'm doing this, he uploaded this like 17 hours ago, right? This video is called The Only Way the World Will Love Black Men. Now, this is a topic, I already watched the video just now, so I'm going to be rewatching it and reacting, pausing, giving commentary. And this is a topic I have spoken about with people in depth. Okay, we're just going to run through it real quick.
Austin Holloman, I am still here in the beautiful Istanbul, Turkey. You guys,
I've got it on 1.5 speed, okay, because look, we ain't got time for the longness.
Right here in front of Hagia Sophia. I believe this is the most important mosque in the entire world or something like that, or at least all of Turkey. And we're about to go on a boat trip with James, and Kid the Greatness may show up on time. I want to talk to you guys about some conversations I've been having with James about our image as black men. If you're interested in the topic, give the video a like and subscribe if you have not already. Also, if you guys are too sensitive and you want to whine and cry in my comment section about stop talking about race, do me a favor, unsubscribe and don't watch this video. I don't have time for grown men that sound like children. I'm more mature than the majority of y'all that say those type of comments. Now, the only way the world will love black men and respect us, because I've done videos about even some people, all you guys think about is women. So when I'm bringing up these topics of other countries I'm having with racist scenarios,
I mean, he's saying all you guys think about is women. Nigga, all you think about is women too. Like, see, here's one thing I'm gonna say about Austin, okay? Because I've been watching a couple of his streams lately, not fully, but just like kind of dipping in and watching. The last stream he did where yesterday night, where they went to the hip hop club and the shit was empty. That killed me. I was fucking dying. And then at the end, like they linked up with these random white dudes, and the white dudes had chicks with them and all this, and they're like, oh, okay, so the white dudes is getting all the play out here. See, this is what we're talking about, blah blah blah. But anyway, that was a funny on stream. But here's the thing, right? Austin has a habit of definitely thinking he knows better than everyone else, and that is a problem. That is a legit issue he has characteristically. There's a major character flaw. He's definitely way too fucking arrogant, and trust me, like me, I love when someone's cocky. I love when someone's got a bit of that, you know, like they're like that. But it has to make sense. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't be cocky in some areas and it's like it ain't really translating. My only thing about Austin is you're completely contingent upon your audience in order for your channel to survive. Like, in order for you to do what you're doing. You get what I'm saying? And that's not to say you can't stand up for yourself or defend yourself. And that's fair enough, because it'd be worse if he was pandering and selling himself out to the audience, to be honest, just to get the money. So fair enough, you're telling them to fuck off if they don't agree with you, or if they're gonna whine in the comment section. I get it, but at the same time though, whilst I do personally think you're mostly right to be speaking on this and you're mostly going in the right direction, in general though, sometimes this particular trait is where he loses a lot of people. You get what I'm saying? Like, and it's just one of these things. I'm not the type of person who believes that you need to be humble. And I get sick and tired of people acting like, especially with black men, like they gotta act humble when the fucking most degenerate motherfuckers, the pookie ass motherfuckers, the rappers and all this extra shit, they're always talking about how they're the greatest alive and they're the greatest to ever do it. Even though motherfuckers will be fresh on the market, just dropping their first fucking album talking about I'm the greatest to ever do it. It's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? So I don't really want to hear that guys have to humble themselves too much, but in Austin's case, I think he could stand to learn something from, you know, kind of listening a bit. But he's saying he was listening to James. Okay, I mean, he's gonna say some stuff in a minute that I'm gonna have to kind of, you know, push back on. But
you guys noticed that I brought up a girl in the restaurant giving me a different treatment as opposed to the white guys I was sitting with. But you guys only bring up dating topics because I get it. A lot of us are sexually frustrated, so all we think about is women, and that's all you guys hear because you guys have a selective hearing. But if you are somebody that listens closely, you would notice that I made up.
The audience definitely does have selective hearing. Like black people in general, that is a big fucking problem with black people. They love to have selective hearing. They love to gaslight. Yeah, that shit pisses me off. So he is right on that.
Areas that didn't involve me trying to have sex with a woman or trying to date a woman. It was just in general I was getting a different treatment. So if we look throughout here, James brought up a few talking points. If we look throughout history, he told me about how we're always the drug dealer in the movie, which I know this, right? We're always the criminal, we're always the bad guy. Historically, we have always been the bad guy in the story. And
right, so this is completely false. And I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? When he's saying historically we've always been the bad guy, what are you talking about? Okay, now this is why I say, like, there's certain topics some people just, you know, like when I say Austin's arrogance is this is what I mean, because in a sense of whilst he's not entirely wrong per se, and his general message, especially in this video, is not wrong. There's specifics of what he's saying where it's like, you can tell that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. And he said James was saying this, so he was just kind of taking James's word for it and regurgitating it back here. And that's the problem, because James sounds like he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Black people are not always the villains. In fact, I would argue the problem is more that black people are constantly put as the victims in media. That's what I would say the issue is. It's not actually so much we're villains or that we're the bad guy. Usually we're just seen as being victims, because you see, to be an antagonist, to be a villain, especially if the hero is white, that's actually a position of power. That actually is something that shows that, oh, okay, you can do something. See, like in American media in particular, who do they often like to put as the enemy nations? Russia and China, right? And occasionally you might get them doing Nazi Germany, right? But the majority of the time it's going to be Russia or China. Like if there's some movie about the president being under threat, it's the Russians or it's the Chinese or something like that, right? You know, maybe it'll be something to do with the Middle East, because we had the whole war, you know, in the Middle East going on, the war on terror and all that. So the Middle East is another one that can get thrown in there, yeah? You go and play like all of these Call of Duty games like COD 4 and all of that. Bro, Modern Warfare, that's all you being in these Middle Eastern places, bro. Dealing with terrorists and that who, you know, walking around with turbans and that, and you're in the desert. You're not fighting no niggas. You're not fighting Africans or black people, bro. You're not in the hood. Ain't no Call of Duty game gonna be set with you fighting a bunch of Negroes. Like, that's not how it goes. You get what I'm saying? The antagonists in most stories are other groups of people. Usually other white people. All the super villains, all the main villains are white. And what you don't understand, and what James clearly doesn't understand, is that actually that's where the real power is, not in being an antagonist, but in being everything. In being protagonist, antagonist, main character, secondary character, side character. See, you guys don't know this type of shit. You don't understand structure and narratives. You guys probably don't fucking read actual literature, so I wouldn't expect you to know this. And you probably have never studied storytelling structure, so you don't know that shit, which is fine. But this is the problem with when dudes who ain't as educated on topics want to run their mouth and act like they know what they're talking about. And then if anyone says anything to the contrary, they want to start getting loud and being like, man, I know more than you. You know what I'm saying? So this is what you got to deal with. I don't think either of them would disagree with me. I definitely don't think James would disagree with me anyway if I brought this up to him. I think he would agree. He seems like a reasonable dude. But I'm just saying, like, the issue is not that we're the bad guy. That's just false. Like, there's not that many stories where the black guy is the bad guy, unless it's a story where it's mostly black people in it, like Black Panther. You get what I'm saying? Because besides Black Panther, who's been a black villain in the MCU? Who? Fucking, I mean, like, even now, where there was, you know, we had the whole Kang the Conqueror thing in the MCU, even that's up in the air because of what was going on with Jonathan Majors. And yeah, he was seen as a bad guy in that real life situation. I'll give you that. And that does happen, but the same shit's been happening to white dudes as well recently. The reality is that I would say black people, black guys in particular, looked at as the bad guy in real life. I will say that. You're in real life, you're seen as the bad guy, yeah. But if you're talking historically in media, no. Historically in media, you're seen as a victim. And whether you realize it or not, that's more of the problem. The problem is that you're seen as being weak, as though you can't do for yourself, as though you have no power. You always need the white characters to come in and help you, to be the white savior. That's why that trope of the white savior exists. That's what you niggas need all the time. You always need the white person who's gonna come and give you the leg up, the hand up, the handler, right? You got characters like Blade. This guy, he needs Whistler. He needs the white guy to come and drag him up to fix it. He can't just operate on his own. Or you can't have another black dude or an Asian dude or anyone else. Like, no, it has to be a white dude there. And when you realize that the reason why is because, and someone did leave a comment saying this, it seemed like it was a white guy under this video. There was a white dude who said something in the comments about, hey, but you know, who is making all this media though? He said, name how many of your favorite black comic book authors. You know, name your favorite black comic book authors. I mean, these niggas can't do that because they don't know anything about those things. But even if they did, he's right. There's not that many regardless. If you was to go down the list of the people who are creating the media you're talking about, the movies and the stories you're talking about, it's mostly white people. Even Black Panther, white people. Yeah, they might have worked on the film, but the original concept and character and the creation of that did not come from black people. It came from white people. So this is the type of shit you got to deal with. You got to recognize that the people who own the rights to these things, who create these IPs and all the rest of it, they're white. Even when they decide, oh, we're gonna put a black character, Miles Morales and this, that, and a third, he's a fucking spin-off from a white character. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the type of shit you're dealing with. So you're never, even if you're a hero, it's like you're still a hero who's you know, needs to rely on the white man in some way, right? Or even if other than that, you're usually a victim. You're a slave, right? Because even when it comes to the criminal shit, like the drug dealers and all the rest of it, the other part to it, that yeah, even the drug dealers and that, they still get the treatment of like, oh, we gotta help him, you know, oh, it's not his fault, it's the system made him like this. And I'm gonna tell you the God's honest truth. It leads to one of two different outcomes with the general population. They either look at you as being victims who really are weak and inferior, and they'll be like, oh, poor downtrodden black people. I ain't fucking dating them though. And you get some people, some women who, they have a white savior complex, or sometimes they're not even white, but they have a similar type of like savior complex where they will date you because they feel like, oh, I need to help them. This is a whole thing psychologically where some people, you know, this is the idea of people taking in broken things and trying to fix them up, or, you know, that's why that whole meme of, oh, I can fix him, or even the reverse of it, I can fix her or whatever. This is where that shit comes from, okay? So there are some people, you understand, this is the reason why when women do tend to be attracted to black guys, they tend to be attracted to the most dysfunctional and broken of us. They don't really they're not usually chasing after the guys who are well-to-do. Like they're more attracted to the guys who are broken, busted up, you know what I'm saying, in and out of prison, fucked up in the game. And this isn't just a black guy thing, this is a thing across all races of men. A lot of women are attracted to the degenerates, right? But I'm just saying that's more the shit you guys have got to be looking at. Not, oh, we're always the bad guy, because that ain't even fucking factually accurate.
If you guys look through, like, for example, look at Power. I believe the show is called Power. I don't know anything about American culture, but if you guys know the show Power, I believe his name was Ghost.
How you don't know anything about American culture but you're American? What the fuck? Look, see, this is the type of shit that just makes people just look at this guy like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, that was a stupid comment. I'm sorry, Austin. Like, shout out to you, but that was just fucking stupid.
Guy names, I don't know none of these people, right? But he was a sophisticated drug dealer, what we would call a hood doctor, basically. This black man that has money, comes off like a professional, but he still got to be a criminal on the low. And that's why a lot of black women, I believe, are into criminals, because we've made that look pretty cool. But we've always been negative characters throughout history. And on the contrary...
So that's true to an extent, yeah. A big part of the reason why women are into those types is because we make it look cool. That is true to an extent. But the main reason is because it's power. And what you've got to understand, that's why the show's called Power, okay? But the main thing you've got to understand is that power, in terms of with black people in the black community, works at the street level. Because black people don't generally have power in any other areas that is meaningful to the regular black person, particularly black women. Like, a black guy who's up in the corporate America and all that, first of all, there ain't many of those dudes. And even of the ones who are up there, let's be real, it's too late by now. And you might say, well, why is it too late? Because it's been so many decades of conditioning where the women have just thought, oh, well, the type of guy that I'm meant to look up to, the type of guy who does something for me is these niggas, these dysfunctional niggas. There's also the added issue of black people looking at anything that's productive and functional as being white culture. This is the reason why the niggas who are the most productive, who do the right thing the most, what do they often get called? The Uncle Toms, the sellouts, the coons, the Oreos, this, that, and the third, right? That's the reason why that happens, is because black people have also been conditioned into looking at anyone who is actually productive, who does the right thing, as being a sellout. And there's a reason why that happens. There's some level of, you know, I don't want to say truth, but I can understand to a degree. And I'm saying this as one of the black people who was being called that growing up. Even though I will always have a certain degree of resentment towards black people for that, I do to a degree understand where they were coming from, because there is certainly black people who are whitewashed. Like, there is no getting around it. There is certainly like some black people where you can look at them and you're like, man, you have got no connection to your blackness whatsoever, like at all. You don't need to have a connection to the hood per se. You don't need to have a connection to the dysfunction, but you don't even, like here in the UK, I mean, you know, unlike you guys in the States, right, a lot of us have come from backgrounds with black countries, like either Africa or the Caribbean, like my family being from Jamaica and Cuba and things of that nature. A lot of us, that's what we have here. You ain't really going to meet a black person here and you're like, where's your family from? And they're like, oh, I don't know. We were just here in the UK. In fact, I think I'm the only black person I know of where my family goes back at least 3 generations in this country. almost everyone else, their parents are from another country. I'm gonna try to stop yapping so much because I do want to react to the video fully.
The white man, if you think about that, the cowboy, white. If you think about Superman, white. Batman, white. Every superhero has always been white, or any positive figure has always been white. You go to the gym, it's changed a little bit now, but usually if you go to the gym, the people that they're showing is really in shape, white. You know, everything.
That one I would slightly disagree with as well. He did say it's slightly changing, but I will say that the fitness side of things, that's not really something I think people associate with white people. I think that's actually one of the things that black people do have as being above everyone else. Because that's one of the major stereotypes about us, is that, oh, we've got athleticism, you know, that we're in the gym, that we're muscular, that we, you know, all of that shit, bro. That's the reason why, like, when it comes to physical prowess, there's nobody who is considered to be superior than us in those respects, because all of the media surrounding any type of physical activity, mostly, if it's not dominated by black people, it has black people as part of it to a prominent level, right? So we don't ever have that problem. Like, a bald-headed black man with the muscles is I think a prominent image that is used, and it's usually reflective of physical prowess and physical power. So I would say the one category where we unequivocally are considered to be superior is physicality. The problem is that also lends itself to the idea of you being, you know, a slave. It also is one of the reasons why the victim thing holds even more weight, because it's like, oh, how is this dude the strong black man, but he's beaten down and he's downtrodden, like he's strong but he's still weak. And it presents a fascinating conundrum that some people get sucked into. Again, it's a complex topic, but let's carry on.
That's been positive is always white. So whenever women or people in general in other nations look at, I don't really have this issue in America, but in other nations whenever they look at white men, yes, you will get picked over every time. I don't give a damn how that makes you feel. If y'all have the same body, income, I don't give a damn person, last name, if everything else matches but your skin tone, a woman will pick white over you if she has the option to. Guaranteed.
Most will, yes. I agree that most of them will, most of the time. I do agree with that. But you have to recognize as well, and again, like, I don't like to be the person to be like, well, the exception, there's that one dude, but I think in this specific case, it's worth mentioning that there is, you know, enough people out there who have a preference for black guys that might get overridden. Also, and this is something else you've got to bear in mind that I don't hear a lot of guys really consider when it comes to this subject, right? But there are girls who, the simple fact that you're black makes you more unique or different than the white dude. So there's some girls who are just for the simple novelty value. So long as you meet a certain bar of expectations, like, okay, you need to be a certain level of looks, a certain level of income. But once you're over that threshold, it's like, yeah, why not? Why not go with a black guy over the white dude? Because, like I said, what's the one thing that we're considered to be more exceptional with is the physical prowess. So even though you're saying, oh, if he has everything over you, yeah, I agree that I'd say 7, 8 out of 10 times it's going to be the white dude. That's 100%. And that reality is what Austin was really trying to get at with his recent videos. And guys have been gaslighting and trying to act like he's capping. He's not capping. It's just that we know that there are ways around this, or we know that you can, you know, there is the 2 in 10 time when it won't be like that. You know what I'm saying? But also there's the fact that, to be truthfully honest, right, a lot of guys, their exposure to relationships is not one that really makes sense. Like, a lot of black guys are out here saying, oh, it's not this, it's not that. I've gone to this country and, you know, the women are like this and they're amazing and they treat me like a king and da-da-da. But these guys are all still single. You know what I'm saying? And these are the same dudes who, as Pastor Bros, were swearing up and down, well, we're traveling to get wives, we're traveling to get good women because we don't want whores and da-da-da-da. But the only women they seem to be interacting with is the whores and the harlots. That's the reality of it. Every time I see you niggas over here in Thailand, I say over here, shit, I ain't even there yet. My brain's ahead of myself. But when I see dudes over in Thailand, every single time, you guys that are vlogging and doing YouTube, mostly all of you are with 304s and pros, bro. Almost all of you. You get what I'm saying? And you're peddling it as, oh, this is dating, this is a relationship. And it's cap. And you stay getting exposed. You stay getting exposed every time you do it, because it's not hard to know better, because anyone who spends enough time there will get to know the faces and get to know which girls. I mean, I've seen certain dudes, I'll just look at the YouTube thumbnail, I see the girl on the thumbnail and I already know who she is. Like, she's literally in my WhatsApp, I already know. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, a lot of you go for chicks that's like, everyone knows this chick, everyone's been running through her, like, and you're peddling her around and celebrating it, parading it, like, oh, look at this, look at what I got, guys. And we're all like, what? We all got that. Do You get what I'm saying? The only guys who are under any illusions are the ones who ain't been out here, or the ones who were out here and didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Like, but that's it. So I just find it like it's yeah. Anyway, let's carry on.
Otherwise, you have to work twice as hard to outcompete the average white guy when you go to a lot of these other countries. I've seen in my own eyes. You
yeah, that's often true as well.
I have a lot more experience than you 50-year-old wannabe my dads that criticize me. I've been a lot more places than you. I've been a lot more places than you. I've dealt with way more cultures. I don't give a damn about you living in one place for decades. You haven't experienced, you haven't been able to dip into as many places I have. I don't care if I stayed a week. If I stayed a week, that means I really didn't like it that much. Keep that in mind.
I will agree and disagree with him. I do think that you don't need to stay somewhere extremely long to get a good grasp of the culture. I can assure you, like, my first trip to Thailand, when I went for only 2 weeks, I definitely came back with more knowledge and more understanding than a lot of the motherfuckers I was listening to who were telling me about it. I know this because now, when I listen to them speak on the country, they didn't sound as informed to me as they did before I made the trip. And some of them were there for months. Some were living there for over a year. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they were not saying, they didn't seem to understand the depths and nuances of a lot of the cultures. So what you've got to understand is that's something that varies depending on the person, because not everybody has the ability to analyze something and not everyone has the pattern recognition to pick up on, you know, the finer details of a culture or of a place. Yeah. So the time spent somewhere doesn't really equate to shit. What matters is how good is the particular person at analysis. That's what matters, because you also got to bear in mind, some people have the wrong perception of things, or some people, you know, they the way how they were living in a country came out. They might be there for a year, but how were they living there for a year? What were they doing? Were they penny pinching? Were they staying in one little area? You get what I'm saying? What were they doing? Like, because there's variables to it. It's not just a simple matter of, I was there a year, you was here 2 weeks, therefore you don't know anything. That's not how it works. At the same time though, if you are there for a shorter period, generally speaking, most people are not going to have a good grasp of the culture in that time. But I have seen, like, some people, and including myself, where I don't have to go somewhere for very long to get a good grasp on it. Truth be told, I don't even have to go to some countries to get a good grasp on them. I can just pay attention to the media that comes out, to videos. I can just look at that and I can get a grasp on a lot of the culture before I even get there. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you can get a grasp on the culture through just things like dating apps. Like, you can get a tell of these things, but you have to have very, very, very fucking good, like, pattern recognition and very, very good just kind of social understanding and behavioral understanding. And most people do not have that. So personally, when I listen to really any of you motherfuckers talking about a country, I always take it partially with a grain of salt, especially if you're overly excited, because I tend to understand that two situations are going on there. Either you're tricking, or you had one or two experiences that were okay and you're blowing them up like there's something exceptional because you want everyone to perceive you like you're the man. That's something that I've noticed happens a lot. So generally, I take shit with a grain of salt. Thailand though is fun. It is lit, and it is one of my favorite countries. So niggas weren't lying about that. It's just they were lying about how you're gonna have your fun. They were lying about that.
Now, we as black men do have control over our image now, thanks to things like what I'm using right now, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and we can blame it as much as we want on white people. But let's take a look at the passport bros, for example, right? There's no regulation. It's not centralized like a fraternity. There's no membership. If you asked me if I would have redid all this and I would have been the one that founded Passport Bros, there would have been a fraternity and you'd have to pay a monthly fee to join. Because if you look at Kappa Alpha Psi, if somebody behaves the same way how Passport Bros do online, that organization will more than likely kick them out. They'll be dealt with. But since Passport Bros is just a label, and it doesn't have to be a black label, but since it's just a label that was founded by someone black, and there's no centralization, you have people that get online and they advertise, oh, well, black men, this is the perception that people have, especially about the black Passport Bros, right? Oh, they're just going over to fight in Thailand. They're going online to gossip like bitches, and they're buying prostitutes abroad. That is overriding the black men like Andre Love Crossing Borders that did move to Colombia, has lines of credit in Colombia, you know, has a beautiful wife in Colombia, and is fairly dressed and can speak well. He's not in the forefront. The people that are advertising prostitution and doing all the negative stuff that makes us look even worse, and you can say what you want about me, you know I don't give a damn, but that makes us look even worse, is what is the general perception.
Yeah, I mentioned this in an old video, right? I say old, one of my previous videos. I mentioned, I think it was the video I did talking about Japan. I was saying that, like, you know, the guys, I noticed the guys who actually have got shit going on, the real shit going on, a lot of them don't broadcast it. Okay, and this is what you've got to understand, and this is for anyone in the audience, anyone who happens to watch this video, right? Especially when you watch channels where guys are showing their faces, showing off what they're doing, here's my life, you need to understand that there's a lot going on there where you need to understand, think, why would they be doing this? Then some of you might be like, what do you mean, why? Well, really think about it, okay? Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to grow a channel. Yeah, very few guys are just uploading the content just because they want to share the content and don't really give a shit how much views it gets. That's not most of these guys, especially not guys who are going on panels, who are engaging in discussions, who are trying to get, catch trends, talk about trendy hot topics. Those guys are trying to grow their channel. And you need to ask yourself, okay, what is the reason for them doing that? Now, some of you might be like, well, why do they have to have a reason? Because they're trying to get that travel content as a source of income, okay? Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have other sources of income, like Skylar, he has other sources of income, whatever, so he's just getting another source of income. Makes sense, fair enough. But the thing is that, guys like Skylar, he said himself that until he retired, he couldn't just come out and say he was tricking and doing this, that, and the third, because it would affect the public perception he had. So he kind of played, straddled the fence by still uploading videos, still showing his travel, still talking about women and dating, but it was just not fully transparent and a little subdued because he had a real life situation that he didn't want to mess up in any type of way. See, there's other people where they're like that, but they're just a bit more extreme with it than Skylar is. You get what I'm saying? So there's other people where they're thinking, okay, I don't want to, lose my job or my career, or I don't want to get into trouble with these people or this, that, and the third, And so they just don't put themselves out in that type of way. Something I always recognize is that the guys who had no hang-ups about this and just come out the gate showing off everything, being loud and brash and having no real care or concern, either they're really stupid and don't think about their actions and they're going to pay the price for it later on, or they don't really have any real obligations. You get what I'm saying? Because some of them are in situations where they're just financially free and they can do what they want. That's fair enough, but that's rare. That is extremely rare. The vast majority of them, they have some type of responsibility, some type of obligation, and so they're not going to put themselves out there in a way that's going to jeopardize that, because chances are that specific obligation is the only reason why they can even afford to do the traveling they do, to produce the content they produce. So you have to wonder sometimes when certain guys get online and they're willing to just put themselves out there like that and say whatever and be reckless with their face out there, with their name and face on the line. You have to think what's going on in your personal life where you can be that free? And it might not be anything suspicious. It might just be, okay, maybe they've just got that. But I would ask that question, is all I'm saying. Ask that question, because I'm telling you, most of the guys who are doing the shit like what he just said, where they've got shit on point, they got a business, they got a wife, they got this, they're not coming online to be no fucking passport, bro. They don't need to do that. They're secure, they're good. And coming online is just going to get them part of the bullshit. It's going to make dudes, oh, let that nigga's business, let's go fucking, and now the bullshit gets brought over to their doorstep, right? Because even look at the fight with Zoom and Tom Yum. Where did that happen? Outside Sunni's barbershop, okay? And the only reason why, Tom knows about Sunni's barbershop is because Zoom to Thailand was broadcasting it. If he didn't broadcast it, Tom wouldn't be pulling up there and making a controversy and creating chaos and drama. That wouldn't have happened, right? He wouldn't know to go there to look for him. So you have to bear these types of things in mind, right? Bear these types of things in mind. And that could have been any one of those other businesses that's out there. It could have been a black business out there. So,
Well, honestly, we've been given the ability to take our image to our own hands. And yes, there are some men that try to make it look better, but the majority of y'all don't even want to help it. Especially when we go back and forth about arguing about prostitution and stupid stuff like that. We're not that mature when it comes to those situations.
I can agree.
So, what is the solution to this? So you guys don't...
I can agree with him, but at the same time though, he wasn't entirely mature with his content either, and he was brash, and he wasn't really thinking, and he wasn't listening to people, and he just wanted to do whatever he wanted to do and be controversial and stir the pot. And that's the reason why the shit built up to a certain point, and then what happened? He ended up getting into the issues he got into with Brazil, right? Now obviously he went back there and it was cool, whatever, but he didn't even go back to the same place he was in, man. It's escaping me right now, but he didn't even go back to where he was, right? Because of the simple fact that he had issues there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he will ever go back or what, but he didn't on the last trip, So this is the type of stuff you got to think about, because he's not wrong, but it'd be better if he somewhat acknowledged the fact that happened with him as well, and that he played into that. This is the type of this is the reason why guys will always have issues with him, and he's always going to have an issue with, guys taking him seriously, because it's like, okay, bro, we get it but you have to also understand how you played a part into this. Even like the whole thing of Passport Bro selling a dream, he's 100% correct in the things he's saying to with that. But the problem is it's like, you were part of this when you were in Thailand with Kate, bro. You were in, you know, all up in here making it seem one type of way. The same thing with the fucking the South African chick you had when you came back to Thailand. You acting like you ain't been here showing off certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just out here and it's like, oh, look at what I'm doing, look at who I'm with, and you know what I'm saying, she did this for me and yeah, and she'll do that for 1,000,001 other dudes. And that situation wasn't like what you was making it out like it was. You get what I'm saying? So you gotta also acknowledge the fact that you also played a part in selling these dreams. You know what I'm saying? Especially your videos we were talking about, like especially those ones, because those are some of your most viewed videos. I think one of his videos with Kate is literally his most viewed video on his channel. It's got like 500,000 views or some shit. So bro, like, don't act like you weren't part of the problem. And one could argue you still are. Only recently can I say you're starting to come out of this with this new kind of, you know, this new sort of woke arc you're going into. That's the only way I can say you're kind of coming out of it a little bit. Fair enough. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you develop more in this direction and you actually, you know, are more authentic. But we ain't gonna act like you ain't had your own transgressions.
Whining comments. The thing that needs to be done is the thing that's always worked throughout history, which is a positive propaganda style blackmail media.
100%.
That's what Mussolini did during World War II when he wanted to make himself look good. Hitler did it. Hell, even Andrew Tate does it. Go look at Andrew Tate's content. He always has his shirt off. He's always doing push-ups. He's always doing something that makes him look positive. But in my opinion, he's not black. I mean, I thought he was from Iran or something when I first saw him, so he doesn't represent us. But there needs to be a campaign that pushes us in a positive light, and it needs to become the norm in order to fix those issues that you guys have heard me describe that I've experienced in places like Brazil and Paraguay and a few other places around the world. Because right now we don't have that super popular image.
He's right.
One thing I also know is, which is that you guys remember, I forgot her name, the girl from Fox News. She tried to go on a smear campaign about white men, and she had to shut it down very fast. That's because white men, generally speaking, have control over what white women say about them in the United States. We don't. So we tarnish our own image, and we allow black women to tarnish our image.
Okay, this is another misconception. Like, another thing that black guys are always saying that gets on my nerves. Because whilst white people do have power and they do have influence, something that black people in particular have a real issue with is they tend to overestimate the amount of power they have. And I think this is part of the reason why you niggas are never going to really get the shit you're talking about, the power level you're talking about, because you create this idea in your head that these guys are way more powerful than they actually are. They do not have fucking control over what this woman said, right? They don't have control over what she said. The reality is that, okay, the reason why, and I remember exactly which Shakiz he's talking about. I forgot her name. Her name's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. It's the blonde chick. I actually made a video about her when this actually happened on my old channel. The reason why, okay, this is like you're saying, oh, it's just a matter of, the white people, they can control what their women say. If they can control what their women say, then how is feminism where it's at? Because that's white women who push that. If they can control what their women say, then why is it that constantly on social media they're talking about the white man's evil and, cisgendered white men are the problem, You got white women who are going, right specifically after white dudes and talking about them like they're the spawn of Satan. But you're saying that they have control over what they say. They ain't controlling shit. How is it that the white women are running all over TikTok talking cash shit about white men day in and day out, and just about men in general? How is that possible if they have all this supreme control? They could just shut it down, because what you're basically saying then is that they could shut it down, but they're choosing not to, which you could argue is somewhat true, but the reality is a little bit more complex than that. The reason why, okay, they're not able to shut it down, the reason why it is what it is because these people have got human freedoms and human rights now. They've got rights now, so you can't just shut that shit down without basically removing their rights and restricting their freedoms. You can't do that. You get what I'm saying? So it's just not going to happen. But also, the average white guy on a day-to-day level don't have no fucking power. Now, the specific woman that you're talking about, the reason why she retracted her statement and why she apologized is because she is part of the conservative side. She's what's known as a tradcon, right? She's meant to be a tradcon. And I said this back when I made my video on her years ago when it happened, and I was saying that I call them trad con artists, okay? Because most of them are they're not as traditional as they claim they are, and she was a good example of that, right? But that's what it really comes down to. They're not as traditional as they say they are, but they're part of an image. They're on certain networks. They're part of that whole side of things right? You can call it alt-right or right-wing, whatever. They're on that Republican side of things over in your country. So because of that, she has an obligation to that audience. In other words, it'd be like, who's like an example? It'd be like if Donald Trump was to come out and say some woke shit, right? And he was to say something super woke. He'd have to clean it up. He'd have to clean it up. He can't go like he couldn't like someone like Biden or I guess right now Kamala's the person we more need to worry about. Someone like Kamala, okay, like she could say some super woke shit and she ain't ever got to explain what she meant. But if she was to say something super conservative, she would have to explain and clarify and clean it up because her base is in opposition to that. That woman, the reason she had to clean up and apologize is because the base of people she was talking to, the people who basically, you know, cut her check, right? Where her bread is buttered comes from the conservative-minded people. So if you come out saying some woke liberal ass shit, you start saying some shit and sound like a feminist when you're meant to be a tradcon, then niggas is gonna look at you like you're crazy. Now, if she was on the other side of things, if her particular audience was mostly woke and leftist liberals, she wouldn't be retracting shit, which is why the women who are over there, white women who are over there on that side, they don't apologize for what they're saying about white men or any men. They don't apologize at all. They don't apologize. In fact, they double down on it. This is why these media companies, okay, when they have like their actresses or whoever come out, like the bitch who plays fucking Captain Marvel, I'm forgetting what her name is as well right now. But when she came out and she was saying what she's saying about white men and this, that, and the third, yeah, people can get mad about it, but it don't matter. She's doubling down. She ain't apologizing for nothing. You get what I'm saying? And they never do because they're on the side of media where that's the belief that's being held. That's where their bread's buttered. The people who are cutting in their checks are co-signing that. So they ain't got no problems. They're good. This is what I mean when I say you guys, man, you talk on shit, but you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You miss the context and the nuance. But whatever, man. My video ain't gonna get no numbers. And that's how it goes. The niggas who actually are speaking sense, we ain't getting no numbers out here. And shit, it don't help that the video's running at 41 minutes now.
Well, and that's pretty much worldwide that happens. I've seen women in Africa talk shit heavily about African men. And yeah, it helped the image of a black person, whatever African descent person worldwide. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you found it informative, entertaining, for whatever reason that may have been entertaining, drop a cash app at $, Austin Holloman, PayPal, Zelle, Austin Holloman.
He's just running out with advertisements now. But yeah, in conclusion, he's overall right in a sense. Let's just get a general message. What he's basically saying is the black male image has to be changed into something that is overall more positive, right? In order for the world's perception of us to be better. And he's 100% correct, okay? Now, what a lot of people don't understand about this is that there's a phrase, well, there's two phrases. One is that art imitates life, right? Which is the idea that, you know, when someone creates art or whatever, it's meant to be an imitation of what happens in real life. It's inspired by real life events, okay? This is like when you get things where they say based on a true story or inspired by true events or whatever. Sure, but also, okay, there is the reverse, which is that life imitates art. We see this constantly nowadays because people will make things on media, social media, you know what I'm saying, a whole bunch of nonsense. Why is it got to be when I'm recording and the motherfucker's got their dog out there just barking? Like, fuck out of here. But, you know, so basically, there'll be art that, you know, there'll be life that imitates art. People in real life will imitate things they see in media. Okay, this is why, like, you know, when things like Black Panther came out, it actually inspired people to go and travel to Africa and to go back and things like that. That actually created something. Like, it may not have been a super substantial movement that changed the whole world, but if you have numerous things coming out like that, not just a one-off movie here and there, if you have numerous things like that coming out, it creates enough of a powerful image. Okay, it creates another thing. It gives something, you know, there's something now that creates an image and creates a positive image. Like, you know, when black people say Wakanda forever and all this, yeah, okay, it might be a bit corny at first, but over time that will become normal. It'll become normal in the culture to be reflective and representative of more positive images. You know what I'm saying? But the issue that a lot of the world has with black people when they see these things is they, like I said, they see you as either victims and like, oh, they're downtrodden, we got to help the black people because they're victims of slavery and the injustice from the police and blah, blah, blah. Or they look at those things and say, okay, but they also create a lot of their own issues and they don't have any accountability. They don't take responsibility. And this is what I believe most people think, but they just aren't willing to say, right? And I think most people in the world look at black people like they're the cause of their own struggle, of their own conflicts and problems. And because they're not willing to do the things to change this and to improve, well, they get what they deserve. They're never going to say this though. But that is what I think most people think. And I actually think part of the issue a lot of people have with black people is actually a sort of resentment because of that. In fact, I think in Western countries in particular, not so much outside like in Asia and South America and that, but particularly in the Western countries where black people already exist, I think there's a lot of resentment because of that. And I think that a lot of people ain't going to say it, but that's just the God's honest truth of what it is. That's really where a lot of the negative responses is coming from. Now, when you go to other places, it's different. It's partially that, but it's also partially just the fact that they worship whiteness and they view as like, oh, this is going to elevate my family and goofy ass shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not going to keep yammering on about it. You guys get the general point. I agree with his overall point. It's just, it was lacking context in a lot of places. There was issues with it. And I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to counter it and I'm going to agree where I can and just give my reaction. And that's my reaction. There you go. So if you enjoyed it, if you appreciate it, you already know what to do. If you thought it was some bullshit, you can thumbs it down. That's fine. But definitely leave comments if you've got thoughts, because I prefer to see the discussion and hear what other people have got to say. This ain't a channel where I'm going to block comments or snipe people. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, unless you're saying something super crazy in the comment section, like I mean some super like messed up shit, then I might have to snipe that. But outside of that, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Bots and non-bots alike are welcome.